Okay, this is day 188. This is going to kind of be a summary. I'm finally back in my own driveway here. So, um, the what I've been trying to do with this series is take things that are covert and make them overt. Take things that are sort of dishonest or loopholes and make them honest by exposing them. Take the rat lines and expose them, and just say, look, they are what they are. They're supply lines, they're drug lines, or whatever they are. And the best way to think of it is Wall Street took over the United States, and they have their own army, and it's called the CIA. And the CIA is allowed to do whatever it wants. And it can work through other agencies, 30 different agencies the DynCorp has. It can work through local police departments, through DynCorp sheriffs. It can work through state police. It can work through the IRS. It can work through basically any federal agency. And it can work through utilities, volunteers, just a myriad of different ways. There's no limit on how it can take its systems and implement them covertly. Okay, so if you look at that situation, let's just take the ranks of the military from private corporal to sergeant. Those are kind of what they call non-commissioned officers. Basically, if you die in war, they don't even add those up. They just say, well, those are casualties. They start using names when people die for real, when you get into the lieutenant and captain, the commissioned officers, because that's a different school. Usually you're talking about West Point and the Naval Academy and the Air Force Academy and so forth. And that's really where the intelligence services, or deep state, or whatever you want to call it, see themselves. So they basically compartmentalize all those non-commissioned positions in the different neighborhoods. So if I'm in South Central, I'm not going to hire a bunch of white guys. I'm going to hire black guys because it's mainly a black neighborhood. Or where I was in Euclid, mainly a black neighborhood. Or where I was in Philadelphia, mainly a black neighborhood. Or Hispanic neighborhood. When I go to Long Island, it's going to be the white neighborhood, and so forth. But the structure is basically, and I don't want to say, I'm going to use their words right now, it's kind of like the chimps. The chimps are the privates and the corporals, and the Harambes are the sergeants. The sergeants are the kind of the, top kicks, they call them in the military. They're the ones that are kind of the enforcers and make things go. They're the ones that have to kill people when things don't go right on the rat line. And they're basically recruited neighborhood by neighborhood. Those are the surveillance specialists 1 and 2s with the FBI. They're not really FBI, they're DHS, they're private contractors, and so forth. But they could be hidden in a million different ways with private contractors. I can hire a landscaping firm to do surveillance. I can hire all the different tradespeople that can come into your home to do spying inside your house. And I'm not saying all these people are in that. I'm just saying this is how covert systems are done. Some are and some aren't, and that's what makes it a covert system. Again, if somebody wants to come forward and tell me what the $6.5 trillion, or I think it's up to $9 trillion are in the black budget that the DOD is spending, that they're not telling us about, then I'm more than happy. But that's their numbers. The Inspector General is their folks saying this. The other thing of exposing overt or covert systems and making them overt is looking at what the U.S. does in other countries and then just replicating it back to the United States. And if I look and see what they do in another 139 countries, and then I bring it back here and say this is what they're doing in the United States. So all these things that I write about and talk about come from lots and lots of memoirs from CIA people, lots of official documents, lots of projects and operations names in all these different countries. And I look for the patterns and so forth. So when I introduce characters all along the way, and every video basically introduces a new character in this kind of milieu, it's to humanize, make personal these rat lines, and so it's easier to understand. So I realize as you're meeting the characters during the day, sometimes it's hard to understand, and I try to summarize at the end of the day, say that's what that scene was about. It's a little difficult, but that's where I'm going. And I do believe that all the rat lines I spoke about are in effect. I do believe, it's the men. The men used to be, when you took over a country, you used to put them in the mines or put them at the oil field. Now they're a valuable resource. If they act up at the minefield, send the ones that are acting up to the organ harvesting. This has been going on for China for quite some time. Same thing with the women. Can immediately, the Yazdi's women is just the latest example. Or the women in Syria, you can just farm them out, or the Boko Haram to prostitution, forced prostitution. And the children obviously go to the UAE and other kingdoms, repressive kingdoms in the Middle East. This is no different in the United States, I believe. I believe the same. Wall Street looks at the kids of a state, and I know this sounds terrible, but I'm actually saying what's the truth. That's a resource. We bought it, we owned it, and there are finders that go out and find the kids and do these little ritual things, and I do the same kind of ritual initiations that they do overseas for team development with the different military teams. I believe they do in the United States, and I just believe they don't do them quite as much. They're not quite as cavalier, but there are differences as far as critics. If somebody's a critic like myself in the administration overseas, they can just kill you. In Vietnam, just shoot you behind in an alley, or drone you or whatever. And here in the United States, they have to do different things. That's why COINTELPRO was invented. That's why Hillary and McCabe kind of regenerated COINTELPRO 2 with a lot of other people. But I'm just saying these are the faces of COINTELPRO 2, of domestic surveillance. And you just see basically the top of domestic surveillance right now in the U.S. with Snowden. You saw a little bit of that. But the idea is, who is the enemy and who is our friend? And we're going to start the war now, a covert war right now. We're going to name all of our enemies immediately. Then we're going to start doing link analysis and social graphing. And we're going to start going after those folks. And this goes all the way back to Vietnam and the Phoenix program. And there are many covert ways of getting into houses at night, and being able to, do different things to different people, to take advantage of them, let's say women sexually, that most people are not aware of. Most people don't have any idea of Frank Olson. They don't know he aerosolized, fentanyl in the 50s, and, the sarin gas testing knocks your sympathetic nerve system out, and you're just basically breathing, hanging on, and then anything can be done to you. Propofol makes you sexually compliant. All these things aren't really known in the U.S. So if you don't have those, if that isn't in your capability set, then all these things that I'm talking about with, let's say Rosic, Nihad, it's like jihad, but it starts with an N. Nihad Rosic goes to Purdue. He's extremely good looking guy. He goes there, he says, hey, I got all these guys, that are all sheikhs from Kuwait. We're having a big party out at the ISNA. It's only about a 30-mile drive. They don't know that they're not sleeping with this incredibly good-looking Muslim guy. They think they spend the night. They think, oh, I slept with him. They actually slept with 12 of the Kuwaiti oil sheikhs. They just don't know it. And so I exposed that rat line. That is going on in Indiana. The Finder situation, now I'm going to try to draw it all together. The Finder situation with the two girls that are garroted, that's really going to be a initiation killing, and you're going to need to initiate. Every time you go into one of these areas, you're going to need to initiate your team, whether it's MS-13 or it's La Raza or the Zetas or whatever neighborhood you're going into. Now, I believe it's the rat line between Indianapolis and Chicago that makes the most sense. So, but I don't know exactly who it is, but they are practicing garroting for a good reason. It's so they actually have live experience, and now they're all in together. I think the Rock of 12, I don't know if you remember me showing it, the Rock of 12, I think that's where they're going to have their meeting. We're all going to get ready to go, and then they're going to do their little, again, why would you practice this stuff if you're not going to do it? And again, it happens 30 miles within, 30 miles away, they're practicing this stuff. And so that's why I look to that ISNA camp and say this is the most probable. And I look to all the non-documented Muslims in that community at the packing plant and say, hey, where's your papers? And where were you on such and such a day? And if you don't produce the evidence, you've got to go leave the country. So what I'm doing is just taking a rat line that's submerged. It's almost like an oil pipeline that you can't see. And I'm just lifting it up and saying, here it is. Just look at it. This exists. And the same thing, with the mango line from Pakistan. I'll be going to the USDA in Iowa. I'll be going to visit some of the mothers of the Find Your Kids that died. I'm just lifting the line up out of the ground and saying, hey, these are covert operations that are now overt. So every point along the way with Mahmoud being a part of the Awan brothers, just basically lifting the line up and saying, hey, they compartmentalize this. They use cleverly, they use different parts of the Muslim religion at different points along the way. So they use MS-13 as the privates and corporals. They'll use ISI as kind of the non-commissioned officer level, at the sergeant level, maybe Turkish limo drivers, at the corporal level. It's layers and it's compartmentalized, and that's cleverly done when you have a very mosaic, cosmopolitan area to draw from. So I'll keep doing this, and I'll keep introducing these characters so you can see kind of, it starts out at the runner level. The runner level is going to be the MS-13 kids. They're very expendable. Once they do an operation, you can kill them, garrot them, gas them, garrot them, throw them in the ditch. Very expendable at this point. They're extremely poor, coming in from extremely poor country. You'll see the corporals, kind of like these are the Turkish limo drivers, the one that took Shannon Gilbert from Manhattan out to the Long Island parties. And all 17 of those murders are going to be the similar thing. There's going to be this Turkish limo driver that's driving them out there, and then they're getting raped, and they don't realize it. Shannon Gilbert was just one of the ones that woke up and made a run for her life. It was a 21-minute 9/11 call, and she was saying the limo driver was trying to kill me. Now, do I think she's just a nut? She lost her jean shorts, she lost her phone, so I look at all the evidence and say, no, she was running for her life. She ran into 3 different homes naked, trying to get people to help, and everyone looked at her like she was insane. She was running for her life. And so I just want folks to understand that at the kind of the sergeant level, you've got Mahmoud, these are the killers. And also I want to realize that there's covert activities, covert actions. So if I want to go kill somebody in that house, I can go in with guns blazing with a big SWAT team, or else I can gas the house. I can take my time. I have a black kit that I can get into any lock. I walk in and I shoot both people sleeping, and then I leave. I can do that, or put a slip knot around their neck and make it look like a suffocation. And I can do that with 2 16-year-old girls and have covert force. So I'm just trying to say there's another rat line. This is done now. It's very common. It's been done since the 70s. Same thing with the drugs, as far as the quarter watered down drugs and the half watered down drugs. I can very easily, if I control the different agencies and how services are meted out by the federal government, this is back to the Phoenix program in Vietnam again, then I can say, okay, who are the referring physicians in each state, in each of the 9 or 10 or however many VA regions are, and I can channel my resources to those doctors from the VA, as well as Medicare, as well as Medicaid, as well as major hospital systems once I infiltrate them. And then I can do nursing homes as well. I can move toward ownership positions in nursing homes and do that. So the CIA is very good at this. Brickman, all the way back to the Phoenix Project, was a genius at this. And I'm just repeating this over and over so that you see it, because it's hard to know stuff that you can't see. Now, like I said, I have had the privilege for 7 years with Mr. McCabe of knowing some of the things and techniques that the FBI uses, and really, by extension, the CIA. So I'm just sharing that with folks. I hope this helps. I know this is a long one, but really the bottom line is making covert operations overt and realizing that the deep state has declared war already on the American people, and they're already ferreting out who's my enemy and who's not. If you go to the fusion centers and look at the whole DHS thing, which is a repeat of the Phoenix Project, that's exactly the terminology used. They call the people on the terrorism watch list enemies. Those are 3 million people. They're not the Jamaat al-Fuqras. The people on that list are like you and me, the people that are the squeaky wheels. COINTELPRO was used by the FBI for the Black Panthers because the Black Panthers were threatening to kill people. This is different. COINTELPRO 2 is different because they're going after people because of their ideas. And that's why I'm speaking out. Well, I probably would have spoke out in the Black Panther thing, but I was too young. But I don't want to see that catch hold again, and we're better than that, and we do have a constitution. Bringing in foreign intelligence services to run operations against our own population is not morally or ethically or legally acceptable.